Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Bryant. I represent Anderson County in the South Carolina Senate. 8 years ago right now, I was asked to come to Spartanburg and support an up-and-coming conservative for the South Carolina Senate.
Amen.
I am more than happy to be here with you today and plead with Greenville County and Spartanburg County to send Lee Bright back to the South Carolina Senate. Senator Bright, there is no greater champion in the South Carolina Senate than Senator Bright for the right to life, for the freedom of speech, for your Second Amendment rights, and there is no greater champion in the South Carolina Senate for your wallet than Senator Lee Bright. Let's talk about roads for a second. I hear all this talk about Lee didn't do this, Lee didn't do that. Let me tell you what Lee did last year in the budget. He filibustered the budget and got the Senate to come together to send hundreds of millions of dollars, not to the dysfunctional DOT, hundreds of millions of dollars going to the county transportation committees to fix your potholes and fix your roads. Lee is a champion, and I am so proud and so honored to be able to come and support him for his re-election to the South Carolina Senate. Now I'm going to turn it over to another colleague, Senator Danny Verdin. Thanks, Kevin.
Well, I'm Danny Verdin, and I serve with Lee in the Greenville delegation. But more importantly, I consider it an honor and a privilege to be his desk mate in the South Carolina Senate. For 8 years, I've watched this champion for Senate District 12, for Greenville and Spartanburg counties, come every day to Columbia and espouse the values and the wishes of the voters of his district. Now, I'll just be honest with you. I got in my car a little while ago down in Lawrence, and I turned on the radio, and I heard a very inane, critical, unfounded radio ad generated in the political class attacking my friend. The theme was embarrassment. I'm here to tell you, I'm here to confirm what the voters of District 12 of Greenville and Spartanburg counties already know. You have an embarrassment of riches in your state senator, Lee Bright. As Kevin said, there's not a one of us in the House or Senate that can carry our standard or claim to have planted our standard any higher or any further than Lee Bright has. He's our champion. We need him. If you were a Lee Bright voter on the 14th of June, I ask you to get one more. Find one more family, friend, or neighbor, and take them to the polls with you on the 28th. A sensitive conscience. Lee Bright takes his cue from his Lord, from his family, from his friends. He's a Christian gentleman who has a sincere conscience. His conviction is as solid as anyone I know. Again, not a one of us can hold account to his conviction, but especially his courage. Stalwart and steady in his courage. I wish there were more of him. If we could only have just the same degree of focus statewide that the voters of District 12 have here in Greenville and Spartanburg counties, we would be a better state. And for that reason, I again concur with Kevin. I implore you to find a family member, a friend, or a neighbor and take them to the polls with you. We need Lee Bright back in the Senate representing Spartanburg and Greenville counties. Representative Bill Chumley.
Thank you, Senator. Such a pleasure and honor to be here to support someone that I consider the most courageous person that I know. Lee Bright, I've known him since a long time before I actually got elected. I've known about his convictions, what he stands for, and I can tell you about Senator Lee Bright. Whatever he believes in it, and he says it, and he stands for it every time, consistently, time after time. I watch him, and he is one of the I think he's probably the only senator that I've actually ever prayed with over the phone on Interstate 26 about issues to know that we think what we're doing is the right thing to do. That is so important to me. It's been such an impressive thing that I have taken to the House as I went in as someone who stands there and does what's right and takes the hit for it. What a great guy. He is a Senate Superman. He is the champion of the Senate, as has been said. I'm so proud to know him and so proud to be a colleague of his, and so proud that he represents his district in South Carolina the way it should be done. And this is what we all espouse to try to do, and I just wish everyone would know the depth of his beliefs and his convictions, because he is a very, very strong, courageous Christian citizen instead of a politician. So I ask you to go out and vote, and this has been said before, ask someone else to go out and vote. We need him down there. Don't let him get away. We need someone there who is going to stand up time after time and do the right thing. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and we need to rally around Senator Bryant. Thanks you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Burns from Northern Greenville County, South Carolina State District 17. 4 years ago when I ran, Lee Bright opposed me. And I got to know Lee shortly after going to Columbia, and I will concur with what each of the preceding gentlemen have said. Lee Bright is a principled man. Lee Bright is the conscience of the South Carolina Senate. And I'm proud to be down and serve with him. I've watched him. He's courageous. He stands tough under fire. Lee Bright is not in for political correctness. He gets criticized for that day by day, week by week. But he's the man that stands for what he believes in. He's a Christian man. He has faith. He exemplifies his faith day by day, and it shows in how he votes and how he acts and how he treats other folks. He served on the school board before coming to the Senate. He served 2 terms faithfully in the Senate, and he is a man principled and a man of his word. And I would encourage the voters in Greenville and Spartanburg counties to send Lee Bright back to the South Carolina Senate. We need him down there. He's good for South Carolinians, and he's good for conservative values. Next, coming up from Greenville County, will be Representative Tommy Stringer. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that, Mike. First of all, Bill, were you and Lee, when you were praying, did you have your eyes open or closed? We didn't want to see a bill that gets prayed while driving while we're down there. The next session. I'm Tommy Stringer. I represent District 18 in Greenville County. And you have to bear with me a little bit under the weather today. But I've served with Lee Bright as long as he's been in office. He and I ran back in 2008, were elected and entered. He in the Senate, me in the House in 2009. So we spent a lot of time, I guess, watching each other across the lobby there. There's 2 things that are certain in the General Assembly. One is the expediency of the Republican majority. The other is the courage of Senator Lee Bright. You know, our democracy demands courage. Courage sometimes demands sacrifice. And I know all of us who are elected know what the sacrifice is. Sacrifice of personal income, sacrifice of friends, the time spent with family, sometimes the respect of your peers. Sometimes this courage demands the sacrifice of the very office that you hold if you stand against the prevailing winds of expediency. And I think that's what Lee is facing today, the sacrifice of that very office for what he has stood for over the past 8 years. He has consistently made this stand against the powers that control our state capital, against their collusion with groups that would enrich themselves at the expense of the common citizen. And we see that when he talks about the taxpayer, the rights of the taxpayer. We see that when he stands against their cynical promises of conservative reform to advance their own political careers. Now, I ran as a conservative. I voted that way for 8 years. I'm still surviving in the House. I've seen a lot of my conservative colleagues either move up or move out. Lee's one we need to keep. We've seen Lee stand against the ready abandonment of the very ideals that have sustained our republic since its founding. The ideals of life, such as Lee fighting to protect the life at its very inception. the ideal of liberty. We know that Lee fights the ever-growing need of government to expand while it devours our individuals' freedoms bite by bite. We know that Lee fights to repair the foundation that sustains this life and liberty, the foundation of a Christ-haunted Western civilization that now crumbles under us as we fall into a pit of cultural transience. We know that Lee fights to protect and honor the sacrifices of our citizens, both past and present. This may not be a popular thing to say, but he fought the idea that we should forever memorialize the 9 precious South Carolinians of Emmanuel Church who made the ultimate sacrifice for their Christian charity by dishonoring the 17,000 South Carolinians who made the ultimate sacrifice for their courage while serving under a Confederate banner a long time ago. We know that Lee fights the tyranny of the transient majority, a majority driven by fleeting passion and not by logic, a majority bent on the replacement of proven traditional values with confusion. James Madison once asked, how do you fight a majority, quote, adverse to the rights of other citizens or to the permanent and aggregate interests of the community? Well, he said you fight it by minimizing possibility, which I think your opponents call obstructionism. It's what we call conservatism. Thank you. We need Lee Wright in the South Carolina Senate. We need his courage and his voice. And we hope that the citizens of Senate District 12 will not condemn him for his principled stands, but will reward him on June 28th. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Long. I'm the Republican nominee for South Carolina House District 37. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here this afternoon supporting my friend Senator Wright. I've known Lee for several years now, and I have to say I kind of look up to Lee. He's a mentor of mine. He's a hero of mine. And I ran for office because we need strong conservatives in office. And I know that Lee is a strong, principled Christian conservative, and we need to send him back to Columbia, and I'm proud to be there with him. Thank you.
My name is Josiah Magnuson. I'm the Republican nominee for House District 38 in northern Spartanburg County. A lot of why I ran was I feel like there is a political power structure that controls our state right now. I am proud to say that Senator Bryant is not part of that, and that's why they hate him. I believe that we need to keep Senator Bryant fighting for us. Like Stephen said, he's an inspiration to me, and I think he's an inspiration to a lot of young people because we need heroes. We need people who are standing up for what is true, what is right in this day when there's so much darkness, and Senator Bryant is standing up, and I hope that the people of his Senate district will make the right choice, and I look forward to working with him over there on the Senate side if he is able to get back in, and I hope that he will be able to do that. Thank you.
These are my friends in Columbia. I have more friends down there. I have some that couldn't make the trip. Obviously it's the summertime, a lot of people on vacations, but there's a band of brothers down there, and we're fighting for conservatism, and that we have targets on our backs. We sent 2 strong conservatives here from Spartanburg to the House now. We don't need to back up in the Senate. I fought to send money to the roads. I have continued. I was the lead sponsor drafting the audit of the DOT. What we need is basically we've got a problem in Columbia, and it's a spending problem. We've got the same problem in Washington. And when they can't raise your taxes, they want to borrow money. We had over $1 billion surplus. But first they wanted to raise taxes. We fought it. We stopped it. That made them mad. Now they're borrowing money, but they're back next year. And why is this so important to special interests? Why is this so important to the chamber and all these groups? Because they like to dole out big incentives to their buddies that pay for their memberships. And where do they get that from? They get it from you, from the taxpayer. And if they can grow that treasury by raising your gas tax, guess what? That gives them more money to play around with. And that's just wrong. That's right. It's nothing more than legalized plunder. So I'm going to stand in the gap and do what I can to stop them, but I need your help, the voters of Senate District 12. Someone came up here with a press conference last week, made some comments. Most of them weren't true. I've done exactly what I said I would do in Columbia. I've stood for what I believe in. I asked the voters to give me the opportunity, and they did. I've stood fast. I've taken the arrows and the slings. There'll be over $500,000 spent against me by the time this race is over.
But at the end of the day, the voters get to vote. June 28th, they get to decide. If you can take a friend, 2 friends to the polls, we need help in Columbia. We need more reformers, not less. So I thank you for being here today, and really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, if all the legislators would come forward, and Mike, if you could come. Okay, all right, okay.
Whoop, stay there 30 seconds more.
All right. Well, you wait for us for 30 seconds, so we'll.
All right, you can talk. Go ahead.
We're just waiting for pictures, unless anybody has any questions.
All right.
All right, ask a question.
You didn't mention her by name, but I think you're talking about the governor. Is that right?
Yeah, I was really troubled because her office on that ethics bill, which is what she's hammering me on, I'm for full income disclosure. I'm for way more than what they offer. What I don't want to do is have private citizens have to disclose when they give to these organizations, and that's just a freedom of speech infringement. But what's so dishonest is her staff called me before the session started and said, if we take out the free speech infringement, will you support the bill? And I said yes. And then she has the nerve to stand up here in Spartanburg and be so dishonest as to say the only reason I voted for it was because it was election year. I voted for it because I gave my word.
Are you glad that she tried to knock out Hugh Levin?
Well, other senators have their own races. I have mine. I will say that we're going to continue to fight the gas tax. There's been talk about it coming back next year, even though they borrowed the money. They want the gas tax. They want to grow government. And when you grow government, you reduce liberty. And we want to protect liberty. So we're going to fight it, and that's why they want me out of the way. Because right now we've got enough senators that can stand and hold up the Senate to protect the taxpayers. But they want one less.
I spoke to Mr. Talley briefly before coming over here. He said that you had gotten with Gerald Malloy a number of times and the Democrats to block legislation.
Well, these men can tell you as far as...
At the time when he was running the trial lawyers association.
These men can tell you what I stand for in Columbia. The governor mentioned a tort reform vote. I abstained from a tort reform vote because I was involved with a trucking company that was seeking owner-operators in South Carolina. That bill, which the chamber graded me on, that bill would have kept owner-operators from having to pay, and they don't have to pay now, but it would have made it official or would have put it in the statute to where we would know there was no ambiguity. I abstained on that vote because I was involved with the trucking company. I think that was the right thing to do. She wants to talk about ethics. There's a lot of things she should abstain on. But I've stayed out of the way. Anything that's affected me, I have abstained on. So I think that was the right vote. I think that was the ethical vote.
Senator, a lot of bills you've introduced have gone national as if you're the one who's introducing them, for example, the bathroom bill in South Carolina. Do you plan on continuing to do that if you get reelected in the office?
I'm going to do what I can to protect the safety and privacy of South Carolina citizens. It's one of those bills that a lot of people were afraid of because of the backlash. I mean, you're looking out for safety and security of the citizens, and there are people that are confused about their gender, but good gracious, if you look at New York City, they're talking about 51 different genders now. Obama talked about the fact that it's Title IX, and you got to have every gender's got to have their own sport. That's what he said how he was going to yank the funding. Was he going to have 51 tennis teams? I mean, this insanity's got to stop. And hopefully it'll stop with Obama, but if Hillary gets in, you're going to need state legislators that are going to have some backbone.
Right.
We don't need any more yes men. And Scott Talley is a yes man.
How's the race going?
It's going great. I think we're going to win next week. I believe our voters will turn out. I think they're going to bring people with them. We've had so many calls. It was amazing after the endorsement. We had a lot of calls from people who said, I was undecided, but now at the governor's with Talley, we're with you. Yeah. And that amazed me. I didn't expect that because I think her ratings, but I think there's some things, between the gas tax and some other things she's changed her position on. People get upset when you campaign on one thing and do another.
Right.
And then the refugee bill, that's another thing people are real upset about. We passed that bill in the Senate 39, I think it was 39-7, 39-6. 39-6 it passed the Senate, and the governor worked behind the scenes in the House to kill the bill. And all we're gonna do is hold these refugee organizations accountable. They testified in the committee, oh, we got this covered, you know, these people are vetted, there's no concerns, not to worry, everything is safe. And then we said, all right, if they're not safe, we're gonna hit you in the pocketbook. And the nationality, all of a sudden it wasn't safe. And they killed that bill in the House. And you look at what happened in Orlando, we need to be careful here. We need to do everything we can as a state to protect our people. Is that it? Thank y'all so much.